Hello there, beautiful humans. My name is Ryder CX, and welcome to a special rendition of, well, this isn't Late Night Riders. This is like, I guess, a fraction of Late Night Riders, where I'm sitting down with the Barnyard guy. I think that's what you go by now.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah, literally the Barnyard guy. I think, you know what, you should just call yourself Barnyard at this point.
Yeah,
I think that's a perfectly
to Barnyard.
That's a perfectly accurate description of who you are. But why don't you go ahead and for those people who aren't like regular Twitter goers, why don't you go ahead and kind of introduce yourself to the audience?
Well, yeah, literally as you said, I'm just like the Barnyard guy. My Twitter's I think it's Barnyard Fanatic. I literally just tweet at THQ Nordic until they remaster Barnyard. That's the plan. That's the plan.
I mean, honestly, like, it's as good of a plan as like any plan, really. I think that's how Rehydrated like probably ended up happening.
I imagine so much fan support for that game. It was almost inevitable.
Yeah, I still remember the days of like stalking THQ Nordic's Twitter and just kind of seeing like, oh, did they respond to anyone's requests for Rehydrated to come out? And sure enough, they blew us away one day and made it all happen. So it kind of just like opened the floodgate for an infinite amount of possibilities with Nickelodeon games.
That's very true. That's my hope anyway.
So I'm really curious because, you know, the internet's a really random place. So things like this like can actually get traction and develop a following. But how did you get into Barnyard? Like, what's the story of you and this game?
Whoa, we're going back now some years. Let's see, around 2007, I was taken into a second-hand game store by my dad, and my dad was just like, point out a game and I'll get it, yeah. It has to be under 30 quid though, because we're poor. And so, I had just like watched a Barnyard film that day. So I just looked up the game and saw the game. I was like, I want that. I want that one. And honestly, it's my most nostalgic memory with any game. Not just because like I'm a fan of like Barnyard in general. I can recognize that it's not really a great film, but I still really enjoy the characters and everything. But it's really well done for a licensed game. Really well crafted, in my opinion, anyway. Really well crafted. The mini games, God, I just love the mini games so much. But it's one of those games where I played it as a kid, and it was the first ever open world game I ever played.
Wow, really?
Yeah. And so I was just like, this is insane. This is so fun. And then I remember trying to play the Flushed Away game afterwards, and I was like, this is so bad.
I never knew Flushed Away had a game, actually. But I guess, like,
it's good.
Practically every movie had, like, a video game come out that time. And
it did, yeah, that's true. And it was mainly THQ. THQ were the king of licensed games.
Yeah, definitely. There was THQ, there was Activision, I think, and I mean, whoever else was doing it. I know a bunch of other companies got into the trend at some point, but no, that's definitely that was a really big thing back then. And I actually remember buying tons of licensed games because, you know, my very first, like, I guess, open worldish game was Battle for Bikini Bottom, even though that's not
the classic.
It is a damn classic, but I know it's not technically fully open world, but it was like my very first taste of it. You know, that was a game I played before like ever getting into games like Mario or whatever else defines the genre. But yeah, I remember having like really strong nostalgic moments with that game as well, and so I definitely can see where you're coming from. I remember when when I kind of saw you going around Twitter and like posting this stuff about Barnyard and kind of seeing like THQ Nordic actually, well, I don't know if they're taking you seriously, but they are like at least throwing you a bone and like kind of kind of like toying with the idea of a remaster or a remake, there's actually people that have like backed you up. You know, there's a lot of people that
I was
like,
so surprised by that. I was
yeah,
so
there's
surprised.
people that it's like it's weird because I think like there's a lot of people just like you, that grew up with the game, really loved it, and want to see it come back in some shape or form. And so when I picked it up for the first time this past year because I was gonna make this video, I was definitely shocked when I started playing it. You know, I'm not used to licensed games like being fully complete open world like this one was.
Oh, it is a shock, definitely. It is definitely a shock.
I remember like laughing internally and maybe externally as well when I got on that bike and was like, oh, this is something you can do in this game. This is really cool.
Oh,
and then
yeah,
I crashed. I crashed into my first fence post within 10 seconds of riding it. I was like,
yes. Yes.
My cow is definitely going to be the wasted type. It's going to be great. But what do you think, what's like your favorite bits of the Barnyard game specifically? Like, what are some things that you constantly go back to when you play it?
I think what hooked me on the game really is the free roam aspect, because that's where most of my nostalgia lies. It's when you pass through those first main missions in the main barn, you get the key to the main gate and you get the bike, and it's just, you can have it, you go down the hill, you can go left or you go right, and it's just that weird feeling of, in the film you're so locked in the perspective of all the characters, and then suddenly it's just like, this is the entire world of the film that you can just go around in. And that blew my mind as a child. That blew my mind.
Yeah.
And also the mini games as well, because a lot of mini games in some licensed games and stuff like that, they're very simplistic. They're very just, you know, whack-a-mole or something like that. But like the mini games in here are like weirdly addicting and fun. Like Tease the Mailman's so good. Mud Jumpers. Oh,
I love that one. That one's hilarious.
Tease the Mailman is incredible. I love that one. But I guess looking back on it now as who I am now, I never expected that amount of polish from a licensed game.
Yeah.
Because as I grew up afterwards, THQ started to get a little bit of a bad rep about the licensed games they were pumping out. Because I think from like maybe Flushed Away onwards, it was very like stop. But
yeah, there was definitely a noticeable decline in quality, at least on the SpongeBob end. But
yeah,
that might actually anger some people, so I'll stop talking about
Don't
that.
stir the pot. Don't stir the pot. But I think to me, Barnyard is maybe like one of the last good licensed games, in my opinion. Every other licensed game I played after that, it didn't really get me. It didn't really grab me by THQ Nordic or Activision or otherwise. It grabs me and grabs my attention just because I think it's so good and it stands on its own from the film. It's just its own identity as a video game.
It definitely felt like it was straying a lot from the film, which makes a lot of sense because one of the most interesting things I found about this game was upon booting it, I was tasked with creating my own cow. And I thought that was really interesting
the best
approach
part
to this game. What's the name of that one? Beef steak or something like that? Beef.
Oh god.
That was the one I chose. I was like, yeah, it had me at beef.
Perfect.
But I was like, yeah, I thought that was a really interesting way that they approached the game, and it kind of allowed you to insert yourself into the adventure in a sense. Although I feel like my cow is way too nice. Like, it basically said yes to every single thing that everyone asked
There are
him to
definitely
do.
some things like that where it's like it's just, you can't really, although you can create your own cow, you can't shape it the way you want. In the sense of like the I guess you could say the campaign is very much like, oh, I'll do this for you. Yeah, I'll do this for you. Oh, sweet, I'll do this for you. What if I just want to go? No, no, I don't want to. I want to ride around on my bike more. Go away.
Exactly. Like, I don't know. I thought it was funny actually because here you had this new guy just coming in and basically doing everyone's chores in the barnyard. it's it's fun, but I thought, like, from a story perspective, it was pretty funny. I named my cow Duckles Overlord, and so I felt it was it's funny that the Duckles Overlord has been downgraded to being the errands man. Yeah,
very true.
That's that and that. But yeah, there are definitely some really interesting mini games. So I think, yeah, Tease and Meow was definitely a great one. I thought the driving was so chaotic. Like, there was just something about it.
The driving used to make me so upset as a kid. Because I just couldn't. The controls for the driving are so fucking. Oh, my bad. Are so.
Oh, no worries.
Are so. I'll censor myself. Gosh darn bad that I used to throw my controller as a kid and be like, I can't play this.
That was totally me with the golfing when it got to like the second half of it.
The second half, all the golfing in the second half, where they create their own courses and they're like, play these golf courses that we made. Please.
I was just like, okay, I'm like, I enjoyed pretty much all the mini games overall, but I gotta say, like, I think the golfing one kind of overstayed its welcome personally. Just because I felt like I was doing that one more than the other ones, and also I'm a really, really slow golfer in general. And so it took me quite a while to kind of get through it, but I don't know. I'm sure there's tons of people that enjoyed it, but personally, I enjoyed, like, I thought the driving controls were kind of whack too, but I actually kind of liked it because it felt so chaotic.
Felt very cartoony, which is a nice feel. Especially for a barnyard game. It's like, I mean, the cows are already standing on two legs and talking to each other.
Yeah. I don't know, it's just like if you basically took Grand Theft Auto and put it on steroids. That's how I felt like the driving was.
Yes, exactly. That's what we need. That's the chaos it needed.
But yeah, it was a really interesting approach to the game. I was actually really surprised to find out that it was Blue Tongue that developed it, which, if you all didn't know, Blue Tongue are the developers of most of the Nicktoons games. And so
it's Blue Tongue.
Quite different. Really, really different from Nicktoons games. And actually, I would have loved if they, like, used this approach of like a Nicktoons game, like just thinking about like an open worldish like game of all your Nicktoons characters, or if you even got to make like your own.
I'd pick that up on the spot.
Yeah, you're making your own Nicktoon and fighting alongside SpongeBob, Danny Phantom, Jimmy Neutron, and I guess we can throw Otis in there too. You know,
yes,
why not?
Yes, we can.
But yeah, and so I think we talked a lot about like the appeal of this game and why it was definitely a big surprise upon playing it as kids and even now. What made you decide to create a Twitter account dedicated solely to campaigning for this game?
Oh, right. So in college in the UK, for those who don't, college is very different in the UK than it is in the US. I did games design for 2 years, and for my final project in the second year, I was going to recreate the barn area from Barnyard in Unreal Engine. And I told all my friends this, and they just looked at me and went, "What are you on about? What's Barnyard?" And I was like, "No, no." So after showing them all, I went home that night, and after showing them all, I was like, not many people know of this game. I hold this game in such a high regard in my own personal opinion, and it's so strange to hear that people haven't heard of, they've heard of the film, but they were like, "I never knew a game existed." And so then I was like, we need Barnyard. We need Barnyard back. We need Barnyard for the people growing up and for the people who have grown up who didn't play this game. And then so I made the Twitter account ages. Oh god. It was the 1 year anniversary a couple of days ago actually.
Oh really now?
Yeah. So it was in November which I did it. And then I came back and went, "I've made this account. I am gonna get Barnyard Remastered. You're all gonna play it." And that from humble beginnings it grew.
Yeah, Like, what was your react? When was the first time that THQ Nordic like actually acknowledged you and started responding to you?
Oh, I think maybe a week afterwards. I kept doing it. They DM'd me after talking to me on tweeting me on Twitter, and they DM'd us saying we like your enthusiasm. And it's like, who knows, maybe you could remaster it one day. And I was like, that's cool, but no you. And
wait, so did they actually like went out of their way to DM you?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've spoken to him a couple
Look
of
at
times. Literally a couple of times, like I think twice. Another time was I was doing some of my work for my UE4 project, and I decided to DM some of them. I was like, just like out of curiosity, just like, how does this look? And they were like, yeah, it's good. We like it. We like it. Well done. Clap, clap. and I was like, yes. Approval.
And so it's like, that's really interesting that they started responding to you like so quickly.
I was so
after you started doing it.
I was so confused, honestly. I was like, how is a meme poster on Twitter able to get the attention of a multi-million publisher?
I think that just like, I think it's a lot of things, you know. I think like obviously people like what you were doing and start following you and like retweeting your stuff and liking your stuff as well. But also THQ Nordic is just pretty awesome overall.
That's very true. Big ups to THQ Nordic. We love THQ.
They're like, their engagement with the community is totally like a dream for like people like myself, because it's you know, I had some really cool things that I was able to do with Battlefield Bikini Bottom Rehydrated leading up to its release, and it's all because they were so willing to work with us and, you know, make the things that we were doing like so much more exciting than they probably would have been without the involvement. And so
that's so good. We love to see that from publishers. We love that community engagement.
Because I've heard like stories from like other content creators in terms of like, oh, we want to like set up these kind of like big events for our games, but the publishers social media are limited in terms of what they can do, unfortunately. So it's kind of cool, you know, because THQ Nordic, they feel like such a small company, but obviously they're handling like really big names nonetheless. So
they are. It's so strange.
It's a weird conundrum.
They are such a big publisher, but they feel like such a small like indie company in the way that they talk to the community. They have that like kind of innocent feel to them.
Yeah, it's really cool, and I don't know, maybe one day, if you go further on with game design, maybe one day you'll be sitting in a company and you'll be, I don't know,
it will be me
proposing.
I'll be the one.
You'll be proposing what the next big project should be. THQ Nordic, we should invest all your resources into the next big hit, Barnyard Remastered or Remade. Have you thought of like any names of what like a remaster remake would be called?
Oh, Remilked. Barnyard Remilked, 100%. If it's not called that, then there's not even a point.
I like that, Remilked, and it's very meme happy too. So that'd be great.
Best of both worlds.
So, I did see like some of your videos too about how you would envision like a Barnyard remaster or remake, and it looked really interesting. It actually looked like sort of something that might fit into like Grand Theft Auto.
Oh yes. I remember making those videos. I was such a naive boy back then. Yeah, that was all the work I did. I definitely, you know, going through all that, you gain such a critical lens, and I imagine yourself doing YouTube videos, you look back on old videos and such with a critical lens and think, I could have done this better, I could have done that better, kind of thing. And I always look back on that work thinking I should have gone more heavy towards what Barnyard looked like than doing what I felt comfortable with doing. I still think in the end it gained a lot of attention, around Barnyard the game in general, but then also gained a lot of attention around what I can do, and I enjoyed that. But I still look back on that and think I can change a few things. I made a video on Barnyard itself as well, like a couple months later, and I look back on that video as well and think I could have made so many more talking points than I did. But
well, yeah, like a big thing, you know, in general is like it's a progression. You know, it's like you no one's born like I don't know what's a big YouTuber. No one's born to be like a Mr. Beast or a PewDiePie.
Exactly.
Everyone like works their way up to it. But I don't know. I thought it looked really awesome actually.
Thank you.
When I saw those videos, and I'm like, yeah, this is totally something I would play. And maybe Barnyard could be reborn into like a more edgy, realistic kind of thing, and just become a joke in like a totally different way. But that's just my mind.
No, I can see that. I can see that happening. I can feel and see that happening.
You know, Otis gets way too deep with I don't know, some kind of like mercenary or something. And it'd just be a huge laugh. But I'm like, the question I wanted to ask was, if a remaster or a remake ever happened for this game, would you want to see any changes? Like, what are some things you'd want to see improve in the original game, or would
this
you want?
This is such a good talking point, because one of my earliest things I ever did after I made the Twitter account, I made a 1,500 worded document about what I'd change about the game.
Oh, okay then.
If I can find it, I'll send it to you, but it is lost between a barrel of tweets. But in I think in that I mentioned a few things. One of the big things I think would be multiplayer. I generally think multiplayer in that game would be phenomenal.
This is a great idea with the mini games.
Just like and through that multiplayer mini games, and then even further, a bigger, more customization for your character. More customization for it, because if you go multiplayer, you don't want to end up joining a game and then being like, oh, we look the exact same.
Yeah.
And then I think I felt most of the mini games actually were pretty decent, except for Tease the Mailman to add more moves, because I feel like that's just a given. But in terms of what I think realistically they could add, a couple more bike races I would really enjoy. I enjoyed the bike races a lot. Smoother controls for the driving, please. A couple more driving things. Maybe make like the bike and driving segments after you've done them separate. So like there's a couple more things you can do separately from the missions themselves.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a big part as well. Doing the mini games, but then having something after that in the mini game which you can continue with separate from the story or the missions.
Yeah, just being able to like play it for some reason afterwards.
Yeah.
Bonus missions or side quests.
Side quests, perfect. Side quests would be perfect. Just something to beef it up. Something to make it up to today's standard of game.
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe like a remake or a remaster would single-handedly revive the franchise.
I would love that. I'd love that. If that happened, I'd be so amazed at what the internet is capable of.
Absolutely. And so like Barnyard was a surprise to me personally. I mean, there were some things here and there that like I didn't enjoy as much as I did in previous games, but at the same time I was sort of just surprised at like what they did with it. You know, I think one of my favorite things was progressively buying more stuff from like that gopher and putting them into the barn.
Yeah, for the barn at night.
Yeah, I love seeing that like slowly transform into, you know, the party house that I was used to seeing like in the action movie. I remember going into it for the first time in the game and I was like, man, this is such a downgrade from what I saw in the movie. But then, you know, as you kept buying more stuff, you know, more and more people started showing up, and it was a really cool way to kind of keep track of your progress.
It was. I loved that part of the game as well. It was something. It was like a piece of progression that was needed in the game to keep it fun and to keep you coming back. Where it's like, I want to get everything in the barn. I want to get the best looking bike. I want to sell all the vegetables I stole from the vegetable patch. I feel like if they added more things to that as well, like more things to buy, more things to customize yourself with, more things to customize the barn inside and out, maybe. Like make your own barnyard kind of thing. I feel like I'd really enjoy that cool. As well. Kind of
Barnyard Sims edition.
Yes, Barnyard Sims. But kind of, I already think the game has its own identity separate from the film, like I said. But to further bring the game into something that it can be without the film, like using the film as a canvas, and then just adding tons and tons to it to make it its own separate identity, which uses the film but is its own thing. I feel like that's what's needed to bring it back. Because if to be fair, I'd be very happy if they remastered it and it was all the same and everything. But a lot of people would just be like, "Oh, it's that game. It's not. It's that's the game. That reminds me of that film. I didn't really like that film." A lot of people didn't like that film.
I mean, like, when I watched it, I thought it was a fine movie, you know? I thought that, you know, when Ben passed away, that actually kind of got a tear.
Yeah,
that actually got a tear out of my eye, you know? So that was a good, like, character development moment for Otis. But otherwise, yeah, it was an okay film, you know, nothing too special.
You know, it's not breaking the grain for animation or anything. It's just it exists. But
yeah,
but you know, that needed to exist so the Barnyard video game could run, and that's what we like to focus on.
Absolutely. Oh, by the way, I saw the other day that there was actually like a second game that came out after this one. You ever played that one?
I have not, because I believe it was on the DS.
Yeah.
It was like, I think it was more based around the show.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I should definitely play it sometime. Definitely. I feel like I'm doing everyone a disservice if I don't.
You know, ideas for, I don't know, whatever else you want to do in the future, you know?
Exactly.
Alright, any final thoughts on Barnyard in general that you want people watching this to leave with?
Generally give the game a go, if you can. I think it's a generally enjoyable experience that I think people should play. Just as just as like a relaxation game. It's nothing action-packed, but it's something that will keep you hooked, in my opinion. And, yeah. Play Barnyard.
Play Barnyard. For life.
For life. Forever. Play it forever.
Barnyard, sleep with Barnyard, live Barnyard.
Become Barnyard.
Be a barn. And so I know you have your Twitter account, so I'll make sure I list that in the description box below. But do you have any plans in the future in terms of keeping the movement going?
Yes, I do have a YouTube channel, which I plan on uploading another video to, because it had like my other Barnyard Remastered video stuff, and then it has the really weird game video that I made on Barnyard, and then after that, who knows? The world is everyone's oyster. I have plans for so many things to do, and I just don't know what to do.
I can picture it now. Your YouTube channel surpassing on the likes of like other people completely dedicated to Barnyard. That would be a sight to see.
Grow an army. That's the plan.
A Barnyard army. That sounds great. Well, I thank you for coming on. I'll leave a link to that in the description box below as well, so feel free to check it out if you all want to. And just thank you, Barnyard Man.
You are welcome.
Whatever.
You are very welcome. I'll disappear back into the shadows.
And yes, keep on living life and harassing THQ Nordic.
Yes. Always.
Alright, catch y'all later.